Hi guys, and welcome back again. So up to this point we've discussed posture, and the one part that we need for posture is strength. We discussed that in a previous video. So today I'm going to talk about mobility, right? Because if we only had strength, there's no use, if I can demonstrate it this way, there's no use for me to be able to pick up something very heavy from the floor and bring it up to my shoulder if I'm strong enough to do that, but I can only move my arm this far. I'm not going to reach the floor. That's not practical. So we need to look at mobility to be able to extend the joints, the arm at the joint, so we can have full range of motion. These are words I want you to remember. Full range of motion for that joint, to be able to practically use it, to be able to do this, pick something up from the floor, put something up on a shelf. There's a whole lot of practical implications, but I think you get the idea. Right, so we're looking at mobility. It literally just means the ability to move. Now, if we look at the spine, the big bunch of bones running down from your head, there's three major movements that we associate with the spine, which is flexion, extension, and rotation. In other words, bending, straightening, and turning. Not all parts of the spine is supposed to be able to do all of those movements. Different parts of the spine are responsible for those movements. So that's where a lot of injuries come from, because we move in the wrong way. We call it movement patterns. We have poor movement patterns, and that happens because we are not strong enough, because we do not educate our bodies on how to move properly. So a common example of this is someone picking up something heavy, and before they've stood up again, they turn. So they're in this bent over position with a heavy weight, and then they turn. Right, there's a lot of people who got back fusions, spinal fusions, just because of that single movement, because your lower back is not supposed to rotate like that. Right, so everything has a function, everything has a right place. We just need to figure out how to move properly and how to use them. Right, so I said we want to have full range of motion. So yes, where you can bend, I want you to be able to bend. And where you straighten up, I want you to be able to straighten up. And where you're made to turn, I want you to be able to fully turn as far as you're supposed to, as far as the design was made to allow you to turn. Okay, so let's get moving into this. For joints, I hope you heard that, there was an for joints to move, they need to be lubricated. This is, you can think about the body as a machine for this, if it helps. Where there's moving parts, there always needs to be lubrication. Now, unfortunately, or actually fortunately, I don't have a little opening here in my shoulder where I can stick a can of Q20 and, you know, just and then my shoulder's going again, it's not squeaking anymore. We weren't made that way. There's no quick fixes in that sense. But the way we lubricate joints is by moving them. When we start moving a joint, there's a fluid that's released, and this lubricates the joint. So practically, what does this mean? The less I move, the less lubrication I'm going to have on my joint, which means it's going to be difficult and most likely a bit painful to start moving again, which means there's pain and I'm uncomfortable and effort required. So I don't want to move, so I move even less, and it turns into this cycle. But the moment you start moving again, you're going to get more lubrication, movement's going to become easier. The more we work with the joints, the more movement we're going to get from them, the easier the movement's going to become. Now, I know I'm not talking about joints conditions where there's osteoporosis or some other inflammatory issue going on in the joints. That's a whole different cause of pain in itself. But even with that, sometimes moving a little bit helps. It's why when people wake up in the morning, especially as they get older, and the joints have worked a bit more, they feel stiff. And the moment they get going, it's slow going at first, but the moment you start moving, you get warmed up and you get going, the easier the movement becomes. It's literally just because the joints are being lubricated, right? So to lubricate the joint properly, we need to take it through full range of motion. Now I'm going to get into that a little bit later, about what the true full range of motion is supposed to be for different types of joints. But you can imagine now, we talked about the joints being hinges. At my elbow, it can bend and it can straighten. My elbow is not supposed to go that way. I'm not supposed to bend that way. Right, so this is full practical range of motion for a joint like the elbow. So that's as far as it was made to move. You've literally got a bony block preventing your arm from going the other way around. Right, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. What I want to focus on practically for today, I'm going to give you more exercises. Now I want you to add this to the previous exercises. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to remember the milkshake muscle, and we're going to do the milkshake muscle on its own, and we're going to do it while we're doing the other exercises, remember. So milkshake muscle, we're going to continue with the WYTs. You can still continue with the bum and the leg exercises I gave you in the previous videos. Now I'm going to talk a bit about stretching. Right, that's where we get to range of motion. Now, because of our computer postures, I call it our slave postures, because we're like this. It looks like a slave kneeling before a master. So it's our computers, it's our cell phones forcing us down and closing and rounding the shoulders. So what happens with time is these muscles becomes shorter and tighter because you're forcing them into this position. And the muscles at the back become weaker, so they're not able to pull back. So for every muscles always work in pairs. So if one is pulling, one must be relaxing. And then we've got this going on each side. But if this always stays like this, it's going to say, hey, I'm going to make life easier for myself. Instead of working so hard, the muscle just becomes shorter. Right, so to enable us to actually open up, we need to do stretches. We need to do chest stretches. So today with the WYTs, from today on, I want you to do this against a wall. We're going to do the W, the Y, and the T against the wall, and I want you to try to remain in contact at your head, your shoulder, your elbow, and your hand. You need to maintain contact to the wall at these points while sliding up and down the wall with these movements. You're definitely going to feel it working on the chest. You're going to feel the muscles working at the back, but you're going to feel the chest opening up as well. We're going to do these stretches. Unfortunately, we cannot do a stretch once and it's going to be effective. This is going to be part of your daily exercises, right? And it's quick, it's easy. You can do it in the morning, even before you take a shower. So I want you to add this to your daily routine. Then there's another exercise I want you to add, and it's called a cat-cow. So I did not come up with the name, I promise, but if I explain it to you, I think you'll understand where the name came from. So I want you to go into 4-point kneeling on your hands and your knees, and then we're going to do an angry cat. So we're going to pull the back up, so it's like this, and I want you to hold that posture for a moment, and then slowly, as you breathe out, I want you to drop it until your back looks like the back of a skinny cow. Right, so we're going to continue that. I want you to do about 12 repetitions of that. And now remember, up and down, that counts as 1 repetition. 12 repetitions, 3 sets of those. And I want you to add that to your exercise regimen. It's going to make a difference. You're going to feel so much better once once you start opening up here, once you get the back moving and lubricated the way it's supposed to be. So I'd love to hear back from you guys and get feedback from how you're experiencing this and what your experience was while doing the exercise. So please let me know, and I want you to remember you are fearfully and wonderfully made.